Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Transformation Project. We're so excited to have you here today, and I'm super keen to speak to our guest today, my friend, Dr. Alison Asher. Now, I'm going to lead into this by saying that Dr. Alison is the only person I have ever gotten into bed with after only meeting them for a few hours. So there's some intrigue for you. She's been a chiropractor for almost 3 decades, working all over Australia before settling on the Sunshine Coast. She juggles her family, a home practice, events for her passion project, Chicks Who Click, private coaching clients. She's now emceeing chiropractic conferences. She's passionate about helping more people choose their own adventures and live the life of their dreams. Observing Alison over the time I've known her, I can say that she's a constant student. She's always open to learning more and growing personally and professionally in order to use that and help others in a very vulnerable and open way. She's an avid bibliophile, which is super close to my heart too, and she's freaking hilarious to boot. So welcome onto the podcast, Alison.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I don't know about all of that, but anyway, we shall see.
So you and I met, I don't know what now, like a year and a half, maybe almost
Think so?
two.
Yeah, yeah.
And we went to a leadership weekend, the two of us. We had never met before. And for some reason, the hosts of the event just presumed we would get on. They were right. And put us in not only the same room for the weekend, but the same bed. And we'd only known each other.
Oh my word.
Literally, we'd spoken to each other like less than an hour before we had to hop into bed together and have a little sleep.
Oh, that was so awkward, wasn't it? And it was hilarious because it was one of those situations where they said, and I'm going to say that we didn't even really know what was happening at this event. It was all new, it was all very different. And we got there and they said, "Oh, you two have got that room." And I just assumed it was one of the I just thinking it was going to be bunk beds or something. We walked in there and it was not even a queen bed; it was a double bed. It was like, oh, I don't really do this.
Yeah, it was a little bed. It wasn't a big
Right.
bed.
And we didn't know each other well enough to say, let's
This
not
is
do it.
awkward.
Yeah. And so it was just silently awkward. And then you said, "Oh, it's all right. I'm going to put headphones in and sleep mask." I'm like, "Yeah, we're still in bed." Anyway, and I know it's only sleep, but it was just one of those things where it was like, oh, that's not something that I usually do. And, so I'm not a hugger. People know that. Hugging me is like hugging a praying mantis. It's like awkward, and I tap you really quickly to say the hug's over. It's like,
Yeah.
I hope I don't touch you in the night. I don't even know why, but we would probably just laugh and go, "This is awkward. Let's put a line of pillows down the middle." But back then it was like, so I just remember that and just think about how funny it is when you don't actually say what's truly in your heart. Like if we had have just said that, we could have laughed and just
Figured
not.
it
But
out.
instead, we just
Yeah.
like acted like weirdos.
You
Anyway,
probably didn't sleep at all. You both were probably frozen.
I slept like a baby.
Okay, good.
yeah, we actually slept really well. It was strange and weird, but anyway.
We're both very, very polite sleepers. Like, because of my very, very busy brain, I sleep with headphone in and also an eye mask. So I literally just turned my back to Alison, put my headphones in and my eye mask, and I pretty much woke up in the same position that I went to sleep.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty much it. So if anyone farted in the night, we didn't know because I was asleep. I'm assuming I would be the farting one. I was asleep and you had headphones on, so we're all good.
Yeah, we were all good. But it was a bananas way to meet each other. But really cool that we kind of had the whole weekend to really sort of connect. And Alison can be a little bit of a tough nut to crack at first. She does have the I'm not a hugger, I'm not a thing, but I have to say that over the past, time that I've known you, you're incredibly vulnerable in your openness of where you think you can improve, where you may have stuffed up. Like you slap that right out there. And I think it's something that people really resonate with you. And you do it in a funny way sometimes. and sometimes not, like, you know what I mean? But I really admire that about you, is that you look at yourself with such clear vision sometimes and are able to take that and then learn from that and then go, okay, how am I going to sort this out? Like, you don't go, oh, well, that was, and I'm just going to keep that to myself. You just tell the world and you sort it out. Like, I think that's amazing. Where does that come from with you, Alison?
I think it's just because it's quite obvious that I'm a bit shit. I mean,
What are you
you know,
talking about?
like I look. I remember once years and years ago, I was at a wedding of a friend of ours, and I was singing quite loudly to "Paradise by the Dashboard Light," and I had a gentleman who didn't know me come over and he said, "What you lack in musicality, tone, because I've got no singing skills whatsoever, and skills you make up for in enthusiasm." And I think I've probably just said, well, you know what, I'm going to run my life with that. Like, it's just, I go hard. I'm nearly always the last person standing. I try my best, but I'm ultimately a bit shit. And I think if we get that out of the way early, then it's all okay, right? Like, I admit it. I know, you know, we all know. So let's just go with it. And then we can just tell the truth. Alison actually means little truthful one. And so I suppose I've grabbed onto that as my little mantra too, to say, well, that's my excuse for saying what, like my husband says a lot, did you mean to say that out loud? But what I love to do is be in rapport with people first. Like, I think that if you're in rapport and actually speak heart to heart with people, and truly speak the words of your heart, but staying in rapport while you do it, you can get away with almost anything. And that's where we truly transform. You know, what's my biggest thing that I love to do with people, whether it be in coaching, in the practice, at events we're running, is for people to say, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way before. So that's my crack. I'm always trying to get people to that point. And so what I want to do is stay in my best rapport. So if I've got I don't know, a posh older lady in the practice, or if I've got a tradie, or if I've got a little kiddo, I'm just always making sure, to best of my ability, bit chameleon perhaps some ways, but just get into rapport as quickly and as effortlessly as I can, so that I can get away with whatever I want to get away with. That's the goal.
I love it. I mean, you've already made me feel like that. I've already sat here and been like, I love this mantra. I'm just gonna like go hard and be like, whatever, didn't work, did work. Like, woo, this is good.
I don't
Let's
know
move
if we
on.
call the podcast Dr. Alison Asher, I'm a bit shit.
Well,
No,
pretty much the thing. But
she's
even
not.
just,
She's awesome, people.
but and I tell my kids that, like, I've been telling them that since they were little bubbers, you know, like, I'm going to go and try my hardest and be the best mama that I can be. But I don't want to get stuck, because when, you know, if you do those, I don't know if you've ever done that personality test. It's about the saboteurs. And my highest one is that I'm a hyperachiever. Like, that's my biggest scorer, right? And if I don't be really careful, then I'm going to get stuck in perfectionism mode and not doing anything, because I'm like, oh, I can't do it the right way and the best way. And I'm quite competitive with myself, and I'm kind of a bit mean sometimes. Some of my language, my inner mean girl says, you're so lazy. So that's what I sort of play with all the time. So if I admit that I'm a bit crap, then what I can do is then maybe damp down that desire to be the overachiever. You know, like at school, I used to get lots of pats. I was a little pet. I'd be the teacher's pet. I'd be the sporting person's pet. And I was always getting these accolades. And if you don't be really careful, it means that you never get a chance to be wrong if you're always the right one. You don't get a chance to ever, you know, get your hands dirty and go, oh, that didn't work out how I thought. So I suppose that's my way of being a bit kinder to myself, saying, yep, hyperachiever is a driver. Let's use it and for a resourceful state and make the most out of it, instead of having it pull me back and actually stop me from doing stuff. And so, like with the kiddos, as they're growing, they've been stretching me lately. Like, especially my son, he's 18 now and he's just moved out. And I was like, why did I help him be an independent and grown up? I should have overparented him and made him stay home and be dependent on me for the rest of his life, because he's stretching that umbilical cord so much at the moment. But that's part of also being a bit shit, where I have to say to him, mate, I'm not quite ready for that one. Give me a chance. I'll catch up to you, but just give me a minute and I'll try to parent to that. And so we've done that a lot. Like Nathan and I, we try to be as solid as we can as parents, and often we'll say to the kids, righto, hang on, parent, time out. We've got to go and have a powwow back here. We get on the same team. we don't always agree, get on the same team at least, and then come back in front of the kids and go, right, this is what we've decided. And then we do this thing. We call it suck it and see. Let's suck it and see.
I love that. So good.
Sometimes it sucks. But, you know.
I think it's good because I know what you mean with like, I think otherwise as a high achiever, you'd get stuck in that fear of failure. And that's the perfectionism, really. And I definitely feel like I can get myself stuck in that. And it would just be so much easier if I was just like, or other people in general too, but just, I could be shit and just really accept it and own it.
Yep.
What a good outlook. I love this.
Yeah, I think it makes people relax too, because so many of us are in that position where we feel that we always have to be perfect at everything. Right. And there's always like, you have to be like the best mom, you have best businesswoman. And especially like in the industry that you're in, Alison, in being a chiropractor, obviously I'm a chiropractor's wife, but watching the juggle that women chiropractors have to do, as far as generally they're very driven, they're always trying to learn, they're always trying to improve, they're running a business, and then possibly a home, kids, like all this stuff, like, and then having to try and figure out, how am I going to, if they're a sole business owner, go off and have kids and still have my business running? Like, it's a massive juggle. And so I know that's originally kind of where Chicks Who Click started.
Yeah. So what was happening is that I was coaching for a company called Quest Chiropractic Coaching, and so I'd been a chiropractor for many years, and so that was Quest, just for chiropractors and business coaching, a bit of life coaching thrown in, I suppose. That's a bit of a overdone title these days. But and then what had happened is I'd spoken at a seminar, and it was down in Melbourne. It was a dynamic growth, and the story that I told was fairly raw because I spoke a lot about my daughter and the things that we'd gone through, and she had some health challenges with getting blood transfusions every 2 months. And so I'd spoken to that. And at the end of the event, I noticed that what the people who came to want to engage with me were women, and often they were women who just about to embark on their childbearing years and wondering how they do that, just as you said, of it in practice, and what could that look like. But then there was also the perimenopausal and menopausal women. I went through menopause quite young by the rules of what people say when you're allowed to do it. Like, I even had a doctor say to me once, a GP, I went and asked about, I dropped a bowling ball onto my foot and I just wanted to get some x-rays. And he said something, and I said, oh, and by the way, anything to help with this menopause. Said it as a flip, and he said, oh, you can't be going through menopause. And I went, what? And he said, oh, you're too young. I'm like,
you're not allowed.
Oh, I'm sorry, my uterus has something else to say about that. But anyway, whatever. So I'm digressing here, but the whole point is that I realized that my sort of, I suppose, if you want to call it your target market, or the people who were actually magnetized, were all women. And I had very few male coaching clients. And the ones that I did were ones that probably wanted a little bit of a mum or somebody to give them permission. I noticed that a lot of people come to me for coaching because they want permission to do something, and maybe, as you said, just to get permission to be a bit shit. So it was like, okay, this is kind of my area. And I think it's because of menopause, because all of a sudden my reproductive organs had shut down. I had all of a sudden this amazing clarity on creativity. And so very quickly, I got this whole idea about Fix It Click. I spoke to her with my really close friend, Sam Cully, and said, I've got this thing going on. What do you reckon? She sort of did it almost like a coaching call on me, and said, let's see if this is viable. And then by the end of that coaching call, we designed a series of 4 seminars. And so that's how that all began. So it was women and female chiropractors only initially, but now we've found that the story's the same, isn't it? It doesn't matter what you're in, whether you're in mumland, whether you're whatever age or stage you are of life. It's about just saying, well, let's look at your season and then let's speak to that. And we took out all of the chiro specific content very early on of our seminar series, and we don't utilize that. If people want that, there's plenty of amazing chiropractic coaches or business coaches that are way better than me at that stuff anyway. But if you want the one-on-one stuff, then we offer that as, anyone can coach with us if we're a good fit. I will say that most of my one-on-one clients are nearly all female chiropractors though. So that's where the coaching is sort of run to. I suppose that's because that's where I've got my chops, you know, like they're the forums that I've spoken at. And just, as you said, just recently, last year actually, I spoke at a seminar as one of the presenters called Concordia in Adelaide, and it's for the chiropractic college down there. And I had my little, you know, whatever it was, half an hour, 45 minutes slot. But then they got me to MC just a couple of the speakers later on in the day. And at the end of it, I was like, I really liked that. I think I sort of fancied myself as like the female Rove McManus of the chiropractic world. And I was like,
I feel like you would have rocked it.
That, right? And so then I went, oh, I want to do that. But what do you do? And because normally, and this is a thing that I don't know if other women know this, but if you want to speak at a seminar, if you want to be on the stage, men ask. They say, I've got usually because they've got a barrow to push. They've got something, a product or a service that they want to sell. And they ask, can I speak at this seminar? Majority of women I know, including myself, I just used to sit back and wait and go, pick me. Hope I get asked to. And then I was speaking to a lady, beautiful Melissa Sanford over in the UK. She runs these amazing seminars. And she said, you know, the men ask. Like, wait, what? Is that allowed? We can ask? And she said, yeah. And I said, but what if people say no? And she's like, they might say no. Wow. Yeah. And I was like, far out. So then I sucked it all up and I asked Patrick down at Adelaide, could I MC this year's Concordia? It took ages to get back to me. Felt sick. And after a while, I thought, he's forgotten about it. And eventually came back and said, yes, you can. And now he's asked me to do it again next year. And then I asked Braden Atkinson, who's running the Philosophy Symposium in Melbourne later on this year. And Braden was good. He got back quickly. So that, you know, with less anxiety. You know, it was like asking for a date. And he said yes. So that's been the new thing. And I don't know whether this is going to be a thing or anything, but it was just really cool to do Concordia this year. It's very different, a hugely different energy. You got to keep the thing going for the whole day. You got to, you know, yeah, there's a lot, but I did love it. So maybe that might be a thing.
Cool. It just shows you getting out of your comfort zone. What, like, you can just fall in love with something that you never knew you would like.
Yeah, and I'm not a natural public speaker. Like at uni, I just got 0 for all of the speeches. You know, when you had to do a talk, it'd be worth 5% or 10% or something. I just didn't turn up. I just got 0 because I couldn't do it. In fact, I used to go into freeze. And I remember even in an oral exam once we had, was when we used to cut up cadavers, you know, dead bodies, and you would have an exam over the body essentially, and they'd be pulling out bits of you. It was a body that you'd dissected, and they'd say, well, what's this? And it's called a viva voce was the name of the exams. And I can remember the lecturer asking me about a particular nerve, and it's a really big nerve of the arm. Everybody knows it. It's called the median nerve. And I said, I don't know, Jeff, just move on. And he would say, Al, it's like the middle nerve. And he was like just about giving me the answer, and he's doing
you knew the answer. He just
I couldn't, completely shut down. And I was always scared that was going to happen to me at other stages, you know. And so I did used to do these healthcare talks in my first practice. I would vomit before I would go downstairs to actually do my presentation. And so it's been one of those things that I've got this like little kind of rule that if something sounds really scary and like there's I don't think I can do that, I say yes to it. And so that's where that's evolved. I think the first big thing that wasn't one of my events might have been Fiji on Fire, and Ash said, do you want to do it? And I said, absolutely not, yes. And he was like, what? I'm like, that sounds so terrifying, speaking to my peers and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I'll do it. And so I just kind of think that that's a way to find out what's on the other side of that, you know? Don't know.
So good. And now, like, obviously you MC and stuff, I'm sure you get nervous, but not throw up nervous. Yeah. Not
throw up, but pretty shaky. Like the hand will be shaking on the microphone and the voice is quivering. And I just figure, oh, well, what's that saying for that beautiful little Dolly, the girl who took her own life? You know, speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. And I think that's it. You know, I'm not just up there saying what's true for me. And if that means I sometimes don't do a great job, well, oh well.
I think that means you care, to be honest. Like if you're not nervous, if there isn't an element of like, oh, it mean, you know what I mean? It means that you really care about it. And I love that, because when I was first asked to speak at one of our network marketing conferences, that was exactly what happened. I was in Vegas with one of our uplines, and that was the exact conversation. And they went, oh, will you do blah blah blah? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Yes, I'll do it. And that was just the flip. It was the same reason why I did my first Tough Mudder. Slightly different. Someone told me I couldn't do it. They're like, you won't be able to do that. And I was like, actually, right? And I think a lot of women, you know, many of us who are driven like that, the same thing, right? I don't know if that was some reverse psychology that was going on there as well. But yeah, and I can imagine you doing an amazing job. Like, I can't believe watching you now in a group even, or on stage. Like, I saw some video of you at that Concordia, and I saw some photos of you, and you literally look like you're in your element. So to hear that you were somebody who wouldn't have spoken before is incredible. I think it's just such a testament to how we can do literally anything, right?
We
if
can
you just do it enough times.
We do have stuff, can't we?
Yeah, face it enough times. Be prepared
and
to
that's what
fail.
one of the things that we say to our kids a lot. Like, I've said that to them consistently. I know, guys, but you can do hard things.
Yeah, 100%. Now tell us a little bit, because you also, you've not only been the first person that I've slept in a bed with after a few hours, but you're also the only person who has gotten me to go and give blood plasma when I have up until now said, no, thank you, I'm not going to do that. And then one post from Alison, and the next day there I was.
Oh, I didn't know it was Alison that got you
yet.
to do it.
What?
I didn't know it was Alison that got you to do it.
Yeah, it was Alison. So tell us a little bit about that part of your life, Alison, because as much as you've been doing all this stuff in the business environment, pushing yourself kind of professionally and personally, you've been juggling that with your family life as well. So can you give us a little bit of an insight into that, please?
Yes. Oh, so thank you for the blood. Gratefully received. So my little daughter Coco, she has a type of it's called a hemolytic anemia. So it's a type of anemia that means that you break down your own blood cells really, really quickly. So she's got a lot of immature blood cells. So what it means is that she needs to get blood from other people, and significant amounts of it. So she's what they call transfusion dependent at this point in her life. And so she got her first blood transfusion when she was 2 months old. She was born at home, and by the time we decided to go in and get her looked at, both my kids were very jaundiced when they were born, and so I just thought, it's just that normal jaundice, but she was getting yellower. So we took her in to the pediatrician to have a bit of a look, and they're like, oh, far out, bilirubin off the scale, double lights, blah blah blah. So we're in the hospital for about a week, got home and seemed to be okay for a couple of months, and maybe by about 2 months, and then she'd gone yellow again. So that's when she got her first blood transfusion, and when she was diagnosed with this condition. It's called pyruvate kinase deficiency. So that's an enzyme that you need for for your blood cells to work, but it's in all of your cells. So blood cells don't have DNA, so they don't replicate, so you need to have them replaced. So that's been interesting in many, many ways, especially coming from where I've come from in my, chiropractic, and you get used to helping people and, help with all manner of different health concerns. That seems to be that if the communication system of the body is working well, then the body heals itself. And so it's been quite a challenge to step back from that and let her run her path and her course. So there was a lot of professional challenges in there, but it's also been a really lovely journey, because I'm going to say that going to hospitals and a lot of what I would have seen as the medical system, I probably had a lot of negativity towards it. And instead, what we've found is that we've found a lot of allies within the system. We've come across some really beautiful carers who have definitely taken gorgeous care of Coco, and me along the way. Her pediatrician has been there from the get-go, and he's been very supportive of the choices that we've wanted to make that have been a little bit different to the mainstream medical decisions, which has been interesting because they've come around. There's things that they said at the start you need to do, and then we haven't done them, and then they've said we don't do that anymore. Now we've changed our mind and we think that that's what we do is more like what you do. So anyway, it's been a very interesting journey. But what that changed my career too, I'm going to say, because I've always worked in very busy practices, always worked long hours, those kind of things, because I love it. I love checking people's spines. And so when Coco was getting so many transfusions, Liam was 2.5 when she was born. So I've got this new little bubba who we didn't have a lot of control on how things were going then. Now we have our own home test kit. We can check her hemoglobin at home if we want to, and we're very scheduled on how we do it. But back then it was a work in progress. And so it kind of wasn't appropriate for me to be just calling up and saying, can't come today, we're off to transfusion day. So I then started to work from home. And so that changed made a big difference as the way I practice. And that's probably a bit of that mess that we were talking about. They say that the message is in the mess. It was a bit of a mess, like I could have people down. This is my office. I'm gesturing to everybody, but you can't see me, of course. Sitting in my office here, chiropractic table there, one table, one room, just me, but it's in my home. So if a kid's screaming, if somebody's fighting, if there's people slamming doors, if there's dogs and cats and whatever, my practice members hear all of that. So there's no facade. There's nothing to hide. I'm just a normal family like everybody else. And sometimes people in my profession, I'm going to say, like to show a certain way, pretend that they're holier than thou a little bit with their health practices, where we're just like, no, this is real. This is what we're doing. This is how it is. Yeah, my kids answer their dad back sometimes too, just like yours. So that brought everything a little bit more down to earth as well. But it's a way of leveling, isn't it? Sometimes when people actually see how you truly live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
it's been amazing. Been amazing. Been an amazing trip, and I've learned, a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to say I would have been close to. I'm going to say that I probably wouldn't have. And it's also allowed me to be able to communicate chiropractic in a very different way. I've been able to show the medical team what we do. They've been able to observe the difference before and after an adjustment with Coco. They've been able to actually see what happens, and they often say, fuck. Because at the start, we were told, look, you might as well move next door to the hospital. She's going to be here every couple of weeks. She probably won't go to school. Her immune system's probably not going to be great. There was a fair bit of doom and gloom initially, multiple surgeries. She has had one major surgery, which was her gallbladder removed. Part of the condition is that you do produce gallstones, but nowhere near the same. There was many other things that were supposedly going to be done, and we've managed to not do those, which has been interesting just to see what a beautifully functioning body. So we do obviously the physical support with the chiropractic, we do the mental emotional with beautiful meditations and things like that, and then we do the nutritional through beautiful eating as well as whole food nutrition through our network marketing. So it's actually expanded my knowledge in a whole variety of ways that probably wouldn't have gone.
That's awesome.
It's been fun. It's been cool.
Question: why do you need the plasma and not the red blood cells?
Oh, that was just Yvette's choice. I think she must be a fast bleeder.
Okay.
Yeah. We take
Yvette does both.
Oh, you
yeah,
both.
Okay.
Yeah. People who bleed quickly, they often go, oh, we'll have you for plasma.
Yeah, they were very excited to see me.
Oh, I've done one plasma.
Out like this. Mine trickles out like this, and like, we don't want you for plasma. You suck. Your blood pressure, and my blood pressure is really low too. And so when I get there, they're like, it's low, and I'm like, all right, I'll get it high. I'll just get stressed. Hang on, give me a minute, and then
yeah. So this is an encouragement. So Coco is not the only person that I know. I do have another friend who is reliant. She is reliant on plasma, as well. And so every time I go in, I kind of check in. I'm like, how's the levels going, guys? It's shit. It's always crap. And especially coming like over the COVID period and out, because people never went anywhere, including to donate blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're out there and you're able to, or you're not sure, like, please contact your local blood bank around you.
Yeah. Website is just like redcrossbloodbank.com.au, or you can find out they'll show you on the quiz, tell you what you can do. Because sometimes in the exclusions, if you've been traveling, had a tattoo, piercings, whatever. So it's really good to just check that out beforehand and then go and book yourself a bed. Take you less than an hour. They give you snacks. It's amazing.
They feed you. They give
and you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Increases your metabolism. It's, there's some cool stuff that happens.
They give you a fancy key ring with your blood type.
I never got mine.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to come down to my neck of the woods. They
I'll
treat
ask
you
them
good
next
down
time I
there.
go.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, Alison, so obviously now you've kind of moved, as well as your current business, you've kind of moved into the network marketing kind of online space. Tell me a little bit about your decision for that, because I know a lot of people would be like, oh, and I know this was something actually for you, because it was something for my husband too. It was like, I am a doctor of chiropractic. I'm an educated person and I'm doing network marketing. Tell us a little bit about that.
I can understand your husband's position, because I'm going to tell you that if you're enthusiastic and you see a lot of people, sometimes I believe that network marketers probably go, oh, she's enthusiastic. She can probably sell anything. She sees her people. I'll get her as my downline and she'll be my white whale. She'll be my little unicorn who's going to make me a whole bunch of money. I'm going to say I think that happens, because I've been pitched a lot of things over the years. This actually evolved quite differently. I was aware of the company for years. Am I allowed to say? I don't know. Do I say or not say?
You can say whatever you like.
Oh, yeah. So it's Juice Plus. And heaps of people have told me about it over the years, people, what another one of those things. And what had happened is that I was looking for some plant-based omegas. And so because I'd read some stuff about maybe fish oils weren't the best ways to take in omegas. I was in the middle of menopause myself. I had the menopaunch, felt gross. I'd tried all of the products. I'd had the wild yam cream and the happy hormones and the mammothy ones or whatever they were, all the different things, and nothing was really handling stuff for me. And I think I was just grumpy and tired, and things sucked, and we're in the middle of COVID, and I was worried about what was going to happen with cocoa, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in blood, right? And there was more things getting put into blood. And I was like, what am I going to do here? Because this kid gets, at that stage, 3 bags of blood, so 3 different people, and it's not monitored. I don't know what's in that blood. I mean, yes, they've tested for HIV and shit like that, but there's a whole lot of things that we don't know. Just, is somebody taking aspirin? I don't know. So there's all of this stuff. So, and I've got a little girl, and what's her dosage? And I was hearing some stuff coming through that maybe some of the things that were being added, some in experimental products, weren't maybe what you would want to have in high dosage. So, like an adult dose is going to be very different to what's available, what should be administered to a child, let alone without it even being administered carefully. And so I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So we started going to an acupuncturist who does a whole lot of detox protocols. And I wanted this plant-based omega. And then the more I looked at all the Juice Plus, I'm like, you know what, I need the whole shebang. And so I happened to know somebody who did. I was like, I know someone who does a Juice Plus, and it's only because he's all over social media that I went, I was going to message him and tell me about that. I was being a smart aleck too. Tell me about that. Tell me about that MLM you do. And to his credit, I didn't say pyramid sale, but I was being a bit, and he was like, tell me what you want to know. And he wanted to ring me. I'm like, no, I don't want to ring you. I don't want to talk to you. Just tell me what it is. So we did it all by thing. So I took the stuff, bought some, took it ourselves for 6 months. Cannot tell you how different I felt. And that's what changed it. And so that's when I came out and started telling people, all right, I'm going to tell you. And the more you learn, I mean, it's one of those things that sometimes, I suppose it hark back to that thing when you're really repulsed by something and you say no, maybe that's the yes. And so I was probably a bit like that with network marketing because of the experience that we've had with Amway and those kind of things back in the day. And it was like, all right, the more you actually read about it, the more you learn about it, you go, this is actually a really clever model. In fact, everything should be network marketing. All of the stuff in the shop, like, don't go to the supermarket anymore. Imagine if it was all network marketing, it'd be amazing.
Right.
Anyway, that's something that goes with time. The thing that hooked me at the start was, like I said, the plant-based omegas. And then when we tested it for ourselves and went, oh, far out, we love this, more energy, you know. And plus, for me, it was just one of those things. It's like, there's one thing off my plate. There's one thing that I don't have to stress so much about. I know that I've flooded these kids with whole food nutrition, and then we can see, and then they can do whatever they do with that. You know, it's not about me prescribing certain amounts. It's just like, here you go, let your clever little body figure it out. And,
Yeah.
you know, like I said before, that Liam's moved out, and he takes it. Like, he said, oh, I've moved out. Can I get an order, please? Delivered to his own home. And so, you know, for an 18-year-old who's probably thinking a little bit about some other different things that he might be putting into his body, going to the pub and whatnot, it's kind of nice that he even wants to take it. So I'm taking that as the proof in the pudding for me. So
yeah, I think that was kind of the same thing for us. For my husband originally, it was like, well, this makes sense. Same thing. It was like, we need something for our clients, because we know that people don't eat enough fruits and veggies and things every day. We know that. And we also know that no matter what people say, most people, I don't want to generalize, most people are inherently lazy, not able to access the amounts of things that they do, might not be able to, afford all those different things. And they're going to die in their fridge. They're going to do it for a week. They're not going to carry on. Like, we know that the vast majority of our clients, through no fault of their own, just because it's human, that's kind of how it is. And so that's how this originally started for us. And then same thing as you, Alison. It was like, we were on the products for it took me a bit longer. I was on the products for a year before I was like, holy hot damn, I just didn't get sick. And we're now about to go into our 5th winter from me being immunocompromised before. We're about to go into our 5th winter of me not even having a cold. So I can't argue with that. Yeah.
I'm a bit embarrassed about how malnourished I must have been, though, because I thought I ate pretty well.
You thought you were doing really well. We were the paleo family. Our daughter was getting interviewed on like the wellness guys for like, the paleo family, healthy, whatever. And yeah, I felt like a fraud to a degree, because despite what I was doing, and despite the fact that everything's organic, and despite blah, 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 we still couldn't continually keep ourselves well. I looked great. I was at like a size 6 to 8. Everyone was like, oh, wow, wanting to come to me for weight loss coaching. But it was literally because I was sick. So
very different, eh?
Interesting. So don't always believe what you see when you look at people, because I looked healthy. She was not.
Yeah. Which a lot of people classify as healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Jess knows too. So now obviously you're doing a bit of Chicks Who Click. You're doing kind of coaching women in general now moving forward, and you've got a few of those coming up. If people want to get hold of you, Alison, if they're interested, you're on the sunny coast, obviously, if they're keen to come along, if they want to know more about what you do, talk to you about whatever, how do people get hold of you?
Probably, well, I'm all over social media all the time. I'm a bit addicted to it.
She really is.
Let's just admit it now. Do love the socials. So everything's all open. I'm Alison Asher. There's a Chicks Who Click page as well. There's also Instagram. I think I'm Dr. Alison Asher on Instagram. There's also a Chicks Who Click page there. So that's probably the easiest way, I suppose.
If nothing else, you want to follow her for book tips. Book tips.
I'm not a very good reviewer, though.
Obsessed. Like, I think you're great. And you will literally be like, this book, I hated it, but this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, I get a really good idea about because I'm the same. When I was little, like, I'm one of those people who, when I was in my teens, I read War and Peace just to say that I could. I have read their entire Bible to say that I have. So that's kind of like, right? Alison's nodding at me. That's who you read the thing. And so I'm a complete, horrendous, ridiculous, obsessed book lover. And I feel like I connect with you on that. So she's always
I'm just a bad reviewer. I'm not very good at it.
What makes you a bad reviewer?
Because I only like to say the things that like you're saying, that I say that I don't like it, but I hardly ever do. I think I only say when I like books, because feel so awful for I read some crap and I can't review them because I think, oh, someone spent like at least a year writing that, and then they've had editors and they've had all the things. Like there was one that I didn't like that I just finished, and that was one that I commented on today, but it was beautifully written and it was compelling. And the horrible character who I couldn't stand, he's haunting me. So at least I'm like, I didn't like it. It was depressing and bleh.
But it's made an impact.
But it has. And I love impact. So I'm cool with that. But sometimes I read stuff that sucks, and I don't review those. I had this idea that I was going to be this reviewer, and I started a YouTube called The Book Chick, and I was going to do all of these things, and they're the worst book reviews ever. And I'm just raving on and hardly even, and then I'm like, oh, that's a spoiler. I better not say that. It's the worst book reviewer. So don't follow me for that. Like, just look at the heading and go, oh, she read that. That's all it is. It's just a record of books I've read, really. Well, only the kind of good ones.
Yeah. So, okay. So we know that if we scroll through your feed, the books that are on there are the good ones. So that's easy. Amazing.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to join us today, Alison. We did this was a fly by the seat of our pants. We had no idea where we were going with this. I knew it would be amazing. I love talking to you always. And we're very, very grateful to have you on with us today.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
And thank you, everybody who has listened in today. As always, wherever you are in the world, we hope you're having an absolutely incredible day. And we can't wait to catch up with you next time on The Transformation Project. Thank you for listening in to this episode of The Transformation Project. The Transformation Project is not just a podcast. We're also a community. We're a collective of like-minded people all around the world seeking to live their best life and raise each other up. We're looking to support you, set goals, get healthier, connect with yourself and others at a deeper level, and better understand yourself and the world around you. We're always looking to link arms with like-minded people wanting to create more out of life. You can connect with us via our website, which is www.thetransformationproject.net.au. Email us at support@thetransformationproject.net.au, or simply listen in to one of our podcast episodes, which can be found on all podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can even watch some of our episodes on our YouTube channel, simply called The Transformation Project. Please like and subscribe to make sure you hear all the incredible shows and guests we have lined up. If you have any feedback or any comment, we would love to hear those, as well as any ideas or guests that you think we should be interviewing in future. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Transformation Project.